thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for doing this. The writers are all super excited, and we're very excited to have you join us on the webinar stage, which I think this may be your first one, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't done this before. So apologies if I give the worst advice ever and you all fail at this career. But I
Oh
will
my
try my best.
gosh. What? All right. Oh my goodness gracious, that's funny. All right, cool. Well, we've only got 30 minutes, so let's go ahead and get into it. I don't know if you and I have ever met before, but it's very nice to meet you.
Nice to
Um,
meet you too. Yeah,
yeah.
roadmap is a big part of my career and I'm really grateful to it. So it's really nice to be able to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for joining. Well, because I don't know if the writers have done a Google of you. So may I have you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Allison Sanchez. I'm a TV writer. I write a lot of kind of genre drama, and right now I was in season one of We Were Liars on Amazon. That was my first staff writer job. We're waiting on the pickup for season two. Hopefully, please stream it. Some last minute streams would be great. You can play it for your dog while you're out. But that's been a really super fun experience. And it was my first time on set. Like they brought us, I was in Halifax for a month for that last summer. So yeah, really cool. Before that, I'm from the Midwest. So I was born in Chicago. I was raised mostly in Wisconsin. I went to school at Northwestern for theater and hoped to become an actor. And I kind of very quickly came out to LA and started auditioning. And with my last name being Sanchez, like all of my auditions were like gang leader's girlfriend, Latina, dancing in a bar. And I very quickly became really like disillusioned with kind of the state of the industry and the state of the roles that I'm in. And I started, oops, am I losing everybody?
It just for a
Sorry, did I lose
second
you
there.
guys for a
Now we're
second?
back.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was really disillusioned. I decided I didn't know that I wanted to act. I wanted to write. I didn't know anybody in the TV space. It was not like, I didn't have any connections. So I kind of fell into travel and food writing. And I got to sorry, I lost you again. So I did travel and food writing for a few years. So I got to like travel to Australia to visit the world's tiniest penguins and like do some cool stuff there and became an editor. That was cool, but there was something nagging at me. I love TV. I've always loved TV. Like I watched so much TV as a child that like I think probably like my like I don't know. Somebody should have been called. And so I decided to write a pilot. I wrote my first pilot and just kind of put myself out there to my friends who were assistants. I was like, I'd love to be an assistant. I'd love to be in this space. And something finally came along. My friend was an assistant for years and then became a staff writer on Nancy Drew. They lost an assistant. She passed my pilot along to the showrunner who read it. And I became a research assistant. And so that was my first job in TV. And from there, I was an assistant on American Horror Story. And from there, I just kind of continued, started I got my managers through Roadmap, which was exciting. The pilot that got me my managers. Also, we sold it to Onyx Collective. And so yeah, that was like all in the same year. It was very exciting. I wrote a couple of freelance animation episodes for Nickelodeon. And then kind of that all led to, it was so long with the writer's strike, but like 2 years ago when we started working on We Were Liars, like I got my first staff writing job and that was really life changing. So yeah, that's kind of what brought me to here.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking us through all of that. And, some of that even I didn't know. Joey didn't update me on some of that. So Joey's in trouble. But that's okay. That's okay. He'll be fine. We'll be fine. All right. So I have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind. Just, sort of general, like about your journey and your advice to people who want to also embark on this journey.
Yeah.
We'll see if anybody has any specific questions that maybe we can answer. So we'll get into that. Okay, so you already kind of answered what first drew you to screenwriting, but
Yeah.
perhaps we can elaborate a little bit on like what made you decide that you wanted to pursue this as a career. Because you got to travel and meet the world's tiniest penguins. That
I
sounds
know.
pretty
It is
enchanting.
so cute. Yeah, I really like I think a lot of like me not doing it initially was a lack of confidence. And I finally decided like I love zombies. more than most people. I was like, I'm going to write a zombie pilot. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to write this pilot. And then I just kept working on it. I mean, I worked on that pilot for a full year. I would ask a friend for notes. I would revise it. I kept trying to make it. Sorry, I might lose you. Sorry, I think my internet is terrible. But I just kept working on that pilot. And job in TV. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting out. You were cutting out a little bit, and then it seems like it's kind of getting there, and now it's like mostly
Yeah.
settled, like 90%
Sorry.
settled. No, you're okay. I sometimes
Let's
the
see.
internet is just the internet.
Sorry, guys. I know. Yeah, so yeah, I think a lot of getting your job, any job in TV is, you work really hard, you develop talent, and then all of that has to be ready and like waiting when you get an opportunity. So like I think the biggest thing is like when a friend was like, "Hey, we just lost an assistant. Do you have a pilot ready?" I wasn't like, oh, I've got something I've been kind of working on. I was like, I've got something that is like proofread and ready to go, and to always have that ready. And so I think, what made the leap was that like being ready, and then being willing to like risk a lot. I had a baby when I got my first assistant job, which was
Oh
really,
wow, that's a
yeah.
lot.
And so it was a lot and it was like no money. And so like we were paying a nanny more than I was making to be an assistant, and so it was stressful. I had a showrunner tell me once because I was deciding on whether or not to take a job. I was like, I don't know because of this and this and this. And she was like, Allison, I totally understand. That's all very valid. Like you have every reason not to take this job. And she was like, and also sometimes you have to leap without a safety net and, believe one is going to appear. And so I really try. I think it's scary. A lot of it is scary. Sometimes you do have to leap and you have to like give yourself that shot, or it doesn't happen, like you're your best advocate and you're the person who's going to believe in yourself the most.
All right, cool. I love it. I love it. Well, that leads brilliantly into my next question. It's like you know the plan. So because I coach a lot of writers through the career writer program. Specifically, I do a lot of the pitching stuff. And I find that a lot of writers tend to be perfectionists. And are
Mm-hmm.
there's either two camps. It's either everything is perfect when I first write it and needs no revisions, or I will rewrite this thing until you steal it out of my hands. So for the folks who
Yeah.
are perfectionists and are nervous about putting themselves out there, putting their work out there, did you struggle with any of that? Was that a thought in your head? And if so, what advice would you give people who are kind of working through those feelings right now?
Yeah, I mean, I still struggle with that. I every time I turn in a draft to a showrunner of like something, I like line, I read it 75 times after I've turned it in, just so I can feel bad about myself about the one typo I missed. Like I still think that that's me. And I think, I don't know, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a superpower to be a perfectionist in this business. I think it's a superpower to always want to put your best work out. I think, when having deadlines really helps me because like ultimately I've got to hit send at some point, and I work down to the wire and then I hit send. It helps me in my personal writing to have my own deadlines that are really like strict, or because you could work on one piece for years and that's great. It'll get better and better and better. But also at some point you do have to put yourself out there. So I think having deadlines and goals of like, I am going to put everything into this for, before October 1st, and then I'm going to send a query letter to a bunch of people, I think is helpful. And yeah, and it's just, yeah, I don't know if that ever goes away. I mean, I think you get more confident that you know what you're doing, but it's still like your own writing. And that is, especially when you're working on a project by yourself, like it's just on you. And so there is that always that feeling of like, this might be the worst thing I've ever, like every other thing has turned out okay. This might make everybody be like, whoa, like she should never be even near a TV. We're not even going to let her watch a TV, you know? And so you just have to, I try to just manage knowing that I'm going to have those feelings, like recognize those feelings and say, yeah, you feel that. That's probably not going to, they're not calling you in the office right now to fire you immediately because of an outline. But, like I think it's a lot about just managing your own feelings and understanding they will be there and they can't, letting them not affect you as much.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's probably an arc that like every artist has to go through, regardless of what the type of art
Yeah.
is kind of making your peace with the fact that, it's there, those feelings are going to be there no matter how long you do this, no matter how experienced you get. It's still your baby that you're giving to somebody.
And I think the good thing is like, I try to remember if you are writing something that is different, if you're taking a chance, which is what will make
Mhm.
someone truly love it, some people are also going to not like it. It's not going to be their cup of tea. And like, that's good, because if we're writing something that everybody is going to like and everybody's going to be like, great. And it's probably just like something that's middle of the road. So like,
Mhm.
this shows that like, I like, that made it to TV that I love. There are people who are like, I've never hated something so much in my life. And that's good. You like need that. Otherwise it wouldn't
Yeah.
be so different and beautiful.
Yeah, what is the like I can't, there's like a phrase for this. I just can't conjure it. COVID brain, it's happening. You're watching it in real time. But there's like a phrase for that where, like it's not jack of all trades, master of none, but it's something in that family
Yeah.
where, if something appeals to literally everybody, like every single human on the planet, regardless of their life experience and their personal taste,
Yeah, no, I
is it
mean, like
really?
the pilot that I sold, like also didn't place in a bunch of contests, and so it's like,
Yeah.
it like you can't like it might be a great screenplay that is going to change your life. Like that screenplay changed my life, and it a million people read it and said, nah. Like I don't even think this is good enough for like quarter semi finalist, and so
Yeah.
you have to like accept that like not everyone's going to see your vision. It's not going to be for everyone. And so, like, if you're a perfectionist in that way, where you need everyone to love everything, like, they won't. And, like, but some people will. You are going to find your people who are like, I love robots in space. I've never loved anything more than robots in space. And you're like, yes, you see what I was going for.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, there's people out there for everybody.
Yeah,
In many ways, as a creative, but also as just like a person and friendships and whatnot.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. I don't know how this webinar turned into like, you guys can go make friends. We believe in you.
Guys, and you know what? If you just have a couple of friends, that's fine too.
That's fine too. Oh my goodness. I don't mean to imply that anyone attending this does not have friends. That's not what I meant. Oh, I'm never allowed to moderate when I'm sick ever again.
I think that everybody is very popular. Everybody's a mean girl on this watching.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, so getting back on track. Next question from me. So we know you told us a little bit about like what's going on in your career
Mhm.
since you signed with your rep. Is there anything else that's kind of so like while we're waiting for season two pickup, are we just kind of like hanging out waiting for that to happen? Like, how
Yeah,
does that process even work?
yeah.
Well,
I mean, it is. It's crazy because you just at any point a project can fail. It's kind of like a miracle when anything like gets to screen. You're like, there are a
yeah.
million. This show, like we had a development room, and that had to get picked up, and then like the first season had to, get picked up, and then it had to get made, and then people had to go to the screen, and like now we're waiting on another thing. And so I think great advice that I've been given is like we're in one of the few professions where it doesn't cost us any money to keep doing our art. Like we don't need money to direct something. We don't need someone to cast us in something. Like we can sit at a computer and write ourselves out of any corner. And I think like um that's the best advice I have when you're waiting on stuff, when you're in between stuff, when you have time. So this summer I wrote another pilot. And yeah, thank you. And then yeah, and I took a lot of time to like meet with friends I hadn't been able to see when I was working and like be like, hey, just so you know, I'm unemployed. Also, we're having lunch. Like also no, totally this is a social thing, but also I just wanted to like oversell and tell you I'm unemployed. And like connect with people. I mean, a lot of it is like making sure you keep those connections up because most jobs come from someone you know, and someone you've worked with. And so yeah, making sure I'm doing that, making sure I'm doing some life stuff. Like I traveled a lot this summer. I think it's also, I mean, in a terrible way, we go huge gaps without working, but in a wonderful way, you get, 2 months where you can travel and be with your family and see friends. And so I tried to do that. And then currently I'm actually working on a scripted podcast for Audible. And so,
Oh,
um,
nice.
which is cool. I've never done it before. And so yeah, so we're in the room for that right now. But yeah, I think just really like just writing, like figure out a project, get it done, like have something else in your arsenal, I think is always the best thing you can do.
Yeah. All right. Is the podcast available to listen to yet, or is it
No, it'll
something else
be
here?
a scripted podcast, and yeah, so I don't know when it comes out, but yeah, but it's been really fun. It's a very different thing to think about. Like, okay, we're doing a murder mystery, and nobody can see any of the clues. Like, how do we do that? And so it's a lot of
Damn, sign me up. All
fun.
right, so you'll have to let me know when that's available, um,
Yeah.
so that we can. I will for sure listen. You had me at murder mystery.
I
Um,
know they had me at murder. I'm
yeah,
spending all day plotting a murder. I'm so happy.
FBI, if you're listening, we're talking fictional murder. No one is actually getting killed.
Well, that's yeah. So my first job on Nancy Drew, I was a research assistant, which not a lot of rooms have, but it was a mystery. So they like I
Yeah.
had to do, and all of my searches, I was like, I'm on so many lists. Like my searches were like, how to blow up someone on a boat. What kind of bomb could I make myself that would blow up 8 people on a boat? And I was like, no, 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 not for me, not for me. I'm not blowing up anyone on a boat. I
Oh,
swear.
I think I saw somebody once who said, like, every time I'm doing these searches for this thriller mystery thing that I'm writing, I'll include, like, best coffee shops open late at night so that they know you're a writer. Oh my goodness gracious, that's hilarious. All right, cool. So, final question from me before we can ask a couple of questions from the writers attending, because there's a few. But if there is any advice that you wish you could give to your, up and coming writer self, your baby writer self, when you're first writing that first pilot ever, what might that advice be?
I mean, that's hard. I mean, I think a few things. I think be kind to yourself. I think like we're all doing the best we can in the moment. I think it's very easy to be like, oh, if I had started this 2 years ago, if I'd started this 10 years ago, look where I'd be somewhere different. And like you can only be where you are now, and that is where your life has led you. Like every choice you're making now will lead to something 10 years from now. And so I think I felt like, I started this late. And so, I didn't start it right out of college. And so there was a part of me that felt really behind all the time. And it made me feel like I was never going to be able to do anything because I was starting later. And I think a big thing, like, I feel, I just, had I known that I would have gotten to this place now, like I could have relaxed a little, which maybe wouldn't have been a good thing. Like, some of that nervous energy is good, but I think like just be kind to yourself. Like you can only do what you can do. Like a lot of people have full-time jobs while they're trying to do this. It's like nobody, you cannot be writing 4 hours or getting up at 5 a.m. and then writing 4 hours a night every night and working a full-time job. That's ridiculous. Like live a life. And so I think yeah, just telling myself like it's gonna be okay. And to just believe in it. And so yeah, I think that's what I tell myself.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Well, we don't have a time machine, but we can tell all of the writers here. So we can pay it forward at least.
Yeah.
Um, all right, cool. So go into some of y'all's questions. So I'm just gonna kind of read them out loud and we'll just kind of go from there. We got like 10 minutes, so I believe in us. I think we can do this.
Perfect.
So JD is asking, who do you go to for notes, parentheses, outside of your reps? So other than reps, who is reading and giving you feedback?
Yeah. So just peers. I mean, look, if you don't know anyone else who's a writer, like have your friends who love that genre read your stuff and give you notes. Maybe they won't be the best notes. I mean, part of taking notes is really like looking at them. And this is the same thing when a network gives you notes, is being like, okay, what is the note behind the note? What are they actually bumping against? So even if you have someone who's not in the industry who might give you kind of terrible notes, like, like, I don't understand blah, blah. And you're like, oh, it's because you don't understand the format of television. But what you can look at is like, okay, why are they saying this about this character? Why are they, oh, is it because I'm not introducing enough of their backstory early enough? Is it because, and so really try to figure out, like, if people are having a problem with something, it might not be the exact thing that you need to fix, but it might be something else. And so, yeah, so I think always reach out to friends, to family. I think it's also really important to have a network early on of people at your level. Like, I think there's a feeling of like, I should be getting meetings with, producers. I should be getting meetings with upper level writers. I want to, meet with showrunners. But the people who are really going to help you the most and have the time to help you are other people who are assistants, are like, getting a peer writing group, finding people at your level, because those are also the people who are going to be showrunners one day and you rise together, so being able to help each other is, for me, the best way. So, I mean, I had a couple of friends who were writers and assistants, and I would beg them to read something, and then they would send me stuff. And yeah, that was how I, first started finding people who would like read stuff. And then you find people who you're like, oh, they're good. Oh, they're not so good. And, but it's still valuable just that people are reading work.
Hmm. Yeah, 'cause I think I heard from somebody who was doing a panel at the Austin Film Festival once, who described one of their processes of getting reads is like they don't even want like, oh, what did you not like? They're like, what do you think this script is about?
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing about like when you're asking someone for notes rather than just, hey, can you read this? Really like focus in on what you think this would be valuable at this step of your process and what you think this person will be good at helping you with. So if it's like, because that helps them too on what they're looking at. If you're like, hey, I'm feeling like I have some mystery beats that are off. Like, is it surprising? Are the turns more interesting enough? Or do you think I should like, or like, can you read this and tell me like, is this relationship clear? Where do you feel like the two leads are connecting enough, or do and so like really like honing in on what would be most helpful helps other people be helpful and will ultimately give you what you need in that point of the process.
I love it. I love it. Give them a rubric. Give them some
Yeah,
guidelines.
I was like, yeah, and then like, yeah, and it makes it, yeah, rather than like, I don't, because sometimes you don't want notes on every single part of it. You're like, okay, I'm pretty far along. What I really need to know is like, is it funny? Like, are you laughing? Like, like I don't want to talk about the plot right now. I want to know if you think it's funny, and so like those
Yeah.
things are really helpful.
All right, cool. I love it. All right, so a friend whose name I don't know because you didn't tell me your name. So we're just gonna call you Sam. Hope that's okay. So Sam is asking, how did you find your manager?
Yeah. So I was like, I so at the beginning of that process, as I started to become an assistant and I started meeting writers, I would never ask a writer in a room I was in to read a script. But when I worked really hard and like if you get into a room as an assistant, work so hard, do extra, like help if a writer's on an episode, offer to do research for them. Like that's how you connect with them. I started to have writers saying like, do you have something I can read? And then if they say that, have something for them to read. And so at that point, they know that you need a manager and will like start forwarding stuff to their reps. That got me nowhere. And so I was, and so I'm like working as an assistant. I'm asking anybody if they have any, advice about reps, all of that stuff. And then I saw on Twitter a thing from Joey from Roadmap that was like a diversity initiative. And he was like, send me a log line. And so people sent him log lines. And then from there, he was like, send me your script. And I sent it. And he was like, oh my God, you got to get reps. I'm going to help you get reps. And so it was it was incredible. He worked so hard. It like took a little bit of time to get people to read it. And like, and he like just kept pushing people. And so I was an assistant in American Horror Story at the time. And then there was like this flurry where like I had, I don't know, like 15 or 20 managers that wanted to meet. And so from there, like I started setting meetings on my lunch and like meeting with people and making spreadsheets of like what I liked, what I didn't like. And then yeah, I picked my managers from there. But yeah, I mean, without Roadmap, that was the big turning point for me, was getting people to read this script in a serious way, I think. And so yeah, but that was, I mean, that's what I tell people. It's hard sometimes because they're like, how do you get your managers? And I was like, I did a very specific program. I can recommend it to you. But other than that, like, I don't have a ton of advice. because yeah, you're going to have a lot of managers. It feels so exciting for, a writer to be like, I'll forward your thing to my manager. And 99% of the time, you'll never hear anything ever again. And so just managing those expectations and not feeling terrible about yourself because they read a lot or they didn't read it or they read one page and spilled their coffee on it. You just never know what's going on with people.
Yeah, you never, because it's what it's a terrible phrase, but like there's many ways to skin this cat.
Yeah. No, there is.
Awful phrase. I
Yeah,
hate the phrase.
everybody, yes. Everybody's path is different and like yours will be different. And like, it's and yeah, it is again, it's like a million pieces of luck meeting your talent and hard work. And so like it all has to line up right at the right time. And that's always the discouraging part, I think. But also it will if you keep that hard work up and you keep putting yourself out there.
Yeah. I think perhaps, moral of this story is take advantage of opportunities
Yeah.
when they present
Yeah.
themselves.
Every like I was and at the time I was like applying for every diversity like fellowship. I was applying for everything I could, every contest. Like I was just like I think a lot of it too is like you just take a giant thing of spaghetti and you're just throwing noodles and you're hoping one will stick and sometimes they do. And but if you don't put yourself out there, then you have no spaghetti to get all over your wall. I don't know about the metaphor
Yeah.
I'm with right now, but
I started us on the questionable metaphor. I got us down this rabbit hole. All right, cool. So Gina is asking, first up, yes, Gina, Allison, we helped Allison find her rep match. We did not help you sell your pilot. We would have loved to, but that was not that was not an us thing. But so Gina's second question is if a manager or rep picked you up, what was the first thing you and that rep slash manager did to pitch your work? Like what was the initial game plan?
Yeah, so I picked my managers, and they're wonderful. It was kind of two things. One, they were like, this pilot, we think we can sell it. Like let's start meeting with production companies, and then also let's start getting you in generals. And if people don't know what generals are, it's basically they're very odd in a way. Is like your managers, your reps will send your work out to a million people, and the production executives. Who like it will set up a general meeting. They might not be looking to buy something, but they liked your work and they just kind of want to get to know you. So it's like a million tiny first dates. You get very good at like a 2-minute monologue of who you are. And then you like talk
Yeah.
about nothing. It's like a very odd, and some people you really click with and some people you don't. And but it's a really odd thing. So it's kind of those two things were our main goals at first is like production companies that might attach to this script and then just production companies in generals. And so I just was like constantly doing meetings for a couple of months and yeah, I mean it really paid off with the script. But with the generals it's like sometimes you never know, like you meet someone on a general and a lot of times they don't lead to much. But I had a general with a Disney exec and a year later like I had a staffing opportunity because she happened to think of me of something we said that she thought would make you perfect for a project. And so yeah, so a lot of times when you get your first manager, you will, if they're good and like they should be, is getting you generals. And I think you can really also know yourself and be like, hey, these are all the companies I would love to meet with. Can you work on getting my script to them? Because I think like that is kind of the initial thing is like you're sort of like you're doing a Bridgerton and like you're doing you're once you have a manager you're being introduced into the marketplace, and so you want to try to meet as many people as possible as soon as you can.
All right, cool. I love it. And I think that is exactly at 7:30. So we are officially out of time, but that was like amazing and wonderful. And then you came in right on time. It was beautiful, Allison. I couldn't have asked for better. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, cool. Well, we said we would only have you for 30 minutes because you have a life and things to do and places to be. I'm also mostly hanging in there mentally, but I'm not like super with it as the evening goes on. So we're gonna go ahead and close the webinar today. But Allison, thank you so much for joining. Writers, thank you for joining and attending. Thank you for your questions. If we didn't get to your questions, again, apologies, but come email me. Alex at Roadmap, come find me. I'll do my best to help out. But yeah, it was so much fun to chat with you. It was so much fun to meet you. How have we not been friends? My gosh.
Oh, it was really nice to meet you. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. And I just like I wish you so much luck. Like, it's hard. And it's like there are times when you will feel so low and like you are doing great. So
Yeah. You've already taken a bigger leap than a lot of people do because you're here. So there's a degree of seriousness that you have in your dreams that not a lot of people do. So like keep that going. Stay on that track. We believe in you.
okay.
All
Thank you
right,
so
cool.
much.
Well, thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Be well. Um, Stay healthy. It's not fun. Don't do it. I
Bye.
will see you all in the next one. Bye.